Well,
That's
again, that goes
possibly
back
why
to the
they're
mental
comedians.
illness thing.
Yeah.
There's usually 5 categories of mental illness that you have, and I can usually pick them out by the way that they do stand up now. That's how much stand up I've watched. You have the neurodivergence, the ADHD, and the people on the autistic spectrum. You have the regular depressies, the depressed people slash anxiety. You have the bipolar people. You have the narcissist, covert and overt narcissists. Those are the people who are doing it for the fame. Those are the people who are just doing it because their parents never gave them any attention, so they had to seek attention from other people.
Hey, everybody, how you doing? Welcome back to the Another Nobody podcast with me, your friend, Travis Myers. I'm very excited about today's guest, Miss Carmen Morales, a very, very funny young comedian who you may know from one of her HBO specials or possibly from one of the different films or television appearances she has made. She's a blast. I love this girl. I love hanging out with her. She's a funny, funny person. And that's enough nonsense from me. Let's get with Carmen. Hey, Carmen. How you doing, kid? So nice to see you.
It's so good to be seen. Nice to see you as well.
Good, good. I'm so excited to see you because I have nearly enough fun young ladies on this show. All right? Not nearly. It's always some terrible, awful crime nonsense we have to talk about. And although I know from our past conversations that you also have a, shall I say, occasionally a questionable past.
Sure.
Okay. But
I'm
other than
certain you can
that,
ask someone and find a mugshot of me pretty easily if you needed to.
I think we're going to have a good time today.
Yeah, I mean, what I do for a living is a crime. I do stand up comedy, which is in
Yes.
itself is just profiting off of mental illness. So in that regard, definitely. So, but it's gonna be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for being had. I'm really, like I said, excited to have you. And before we get started with your comedy, which of course I very much want to talk about, tell us for our listeners, give us just a little, hey, hello, I'm Carmen. This is my story. How did you grow up? Where did you grow up? Et cetera, et cetera.
Well, hello. My name's Carmen Morales. I'm a stand-up comedian. I'm originally from Florida. Not on purpose, just happened to be where my parents were fucking at the time. I didn't pick it. And so I'm from Florida, and I was always a fan of comedy, like like in kindergarten, first grade, they make you write a paper about who inspires you, and
Yeah.
people write about astronauts, or they write about their dad who's a chef, or their my uncle was a plumber, all these things. Everybody write about. I wrote mine about Gallagher, the comedian who used to smash watermelons.
I
So I've
remember
been a
him.
fan. I've been a fan for a long time, and I've always wanted to do it. It was always something that was very just I always just thought it was so damn cool. And of course Gallagher in hindsight it ended up being a nutcase, but at the time when you're in first grade, he used the element of spectacle, which was huge for me, because I'm a child. You got to keep my attention, right? And a child with ADHD too. So definitely had to be interesting. So smashing the watermelon just kept me there to see the
Yes.
rest of it. And he used props and all this other stuff. And unfortunately, the other comedian I used to watch, like how little kids watch Frozen, is Bill Cosby's himself. The Bill
Yes.
Cosby. But again, years ago, I didn't know what he was doing in his personal time. But at the time, it was he just that special was just a bunch of wonderful stories, and it was so captivating to me. And I just loved. I loved that one person could make a lot of people happy, so it was so captivating to me. And then, I was a theater kid. I did acting, I did improv. And then I finally grew the stones to take the leap and to try it. And it happened on a dare too. I was just friends of mine were tired of me talking about comedy so much. They're like, "Why don't you do it?" And I was like, "Ah." And then, after probably about a year of my friends harassing me, then I was like, okay, I will do an open mic, and if I get any laughs, I'll come back. And if I don't get any laughs, then at least I gave it a shot, and that was it. And I went on stage. I didn't have any prepared material. I didn't have anything written. I just went up there and I riffed, so to speak. Now I made up a story about my husband that I met in the Bennigan's, and we broke up because of the server, and there was hair in my soup. But I made this whole story, and at the very end of it, I was just going, I'm just kidding. I'd never get married. And then so it was like this whole long thing that had funny stories, and at the end of it, and it got a great response. So then I just was like, okay, well, yeah, maybe I'll do it again. That felt
Yeah.
really good because the feeling of making, for me personally, obviously this is for everybody, because it's such a scary place for a lot of people, i.e. public speaking being the most difficult place. That's why it's funny to me that social media is so big, because they have the barrier of the phone.
Yes.
Sure, you don't have to read the comments. You don't have to get in the weeds of it, but there is something about an unbridled emotional response that you're eliciting from a group of people that just brings me the kind of joy. It's pretty close to coming, if I'm being honest with you,
Yeah.
Travis. It's really high up there. The kind of, and it just provides so much dopamine for me. And as an ADHD lady, dude, I'm constantly chasing dopamine. I get why a lot of comedians go to drugs, because to keep that feeling, you got to look for something synthetic to keep it. So I just do more stand
Yes.
up. And I just really wanted to never not do that again. So I did whatever I could. I lived out of my car for 6 years and didn't really live anywhere, which when I say that to young people, they think it's insane because I'm a woman, you know. But I was also a brassy woman. My mom was from Queens. My dad was literally an insane person. He was a bipolar Cuban man who also used to be much more of a criminal than I ever was, you know?
Yeah.
You wouldn't, if you had what was the big thing if you had any big construction equipment on a loosely locked up site, you wouldn't want to see my dad coming when he was younger, because he when he immigrated here, they were in Jersey, so he was a Jersey guy,
Oh,
which
okay.
is
So
where a lot,
your
Newark
your
a lot.
your your family's roots are from the Northeast, and up from where I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so my dad it was he was one of the, what's it called, what's the, like, Sea Caucus and Newark, and that's like we're like big hub for a lot of Cuban immigrants.
Very, very
um
Cuban. Jersey City was back in
mhm,
the day was very, very Cuban.
yeah, Jersey City. My dad always used to go out to Jersey City.
Yeah.
They lived a little bit further in, I think, but he was always in Jersey City.
Hmm.
And then if it was a big night, he would go to the city, the big, New York City. But so yeah, when you have, I mean, I really think all stand-up comedy is people trying to make their mental illness profitable. It is a way to get, you know, to be able to, because it does make you feel good. It does make you feel better. And when you come from a place that, like, like I said, my dad was kind of nuts. So there was some abuse, and there was some, I had to be tough. I just grew up in a way that I had
Yeah.
to be tough. And so when I traveled on the road, I wasn't living in fear like a lot of, like, the narrative for a lot of women. I wasn't really scared. Did I have a weapon on me? Of course. I carried a machete in my little 3-door Saturn. Of course I did. But I wasn't, but I'm also adorable and non-threatening and very easy to find a couch to stay on, you know?
Yes.
So I would go around, and I think I left with like $200 to my name and started trying to just pursue it. And granted, now the way things are to become a stand-up comedian are very different. But at the time, I would just roll the dice and drive to this town that was 9 hours away, because that guy booked like 6 different rooms. So I would go there and I would try to do that and get a good review, and then go to another place and kind of built it. And then I would just come back to Florida from Thanksgiving to New Year's. Because usually, as a comedian, one of the most, especially if you're not famous, the biggest paid money night was New Year's, because it was
Yeah.
guaranteed money. And everybody knew that everybody's paying for a champagne toast. So you get paid more.
There's
So
a thing that a lot of people don't, I guess the public maybe doesn't realize too,
Hmm.
much like music, from my music background, there is almost a season for it too. Like you said, from Thanksgiving to New Year's, it
Mm.
is that after the start of school, once all the back to school nonsense is over, right through Christmas and into New Year's is when all the bars and clubs and things are hopping, you know? And
Yeah.
January and February, it's over. You're done, you know?
Hmm.
And even though
Well,
it
that
picks
see
up
that
in the spring and
regionally,
summer,
that's regionally because like December is always big because then there's company Christmas parties.
exactly,
People are throwing. They
exactly.
always want to have entertainment. But New Year's specifically is the biggest payday if you're not doing corporates, if you're not doing anything like that. But the kiss of death for stand up is usually the summer, especially if you're in the Midwest or something like that. Because when people are snowed in all winter, they don't want to be in a basement listening to somebody talk about their dick or their family or whatever. They want to be in a beer garden, drinking out in the fresh air while they can have it.
Yes.
So it's a hard sell for stand up over. So if anybody is listening, please go see stand up in the summer and make somebody very happy because not enough people go out. Um so yeah, so I just kind of like bounced around and for like 6 years and then I was like, man, if I'm gonna live in New York or LA, because that was like the move to do, to stop like living on the road, I was like, I haven't had any real financial responsibility. So I gotta go somewhere and learn some before because again, when you're just paying for car insurance in your phone, and your hotels or whatever. So and I was couch surfing again. I'd spend a couple weeks here. I watched my friends' kids for them while I stayed there. There was a lot of bartering going on. It was it was actually very socialism for me. If it wasn't for all of the other people, I definitely wouldn't have been able to pursue it. But there is a kindness in people when they see you pursuing something and being willing to sacrifice everything for it that they jump on board
Yes.
and they're like, yeah, I want to assist in this happening. I have no desire to do it. I love that you're doing it, but it is not my thing. And I don't, but here, stay here. And
Like that kindness of strangers kind of thing, where, again, the music world is the same thing. Bands go all over the place and stay in people's apartments, in their basements, in their houses, on their couches. We have
yeah.
hosted it at our home because we're part of it. We're part of this world, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, countless bands and comedians over the years who have, slept in our spare room or on the couch, and sometimes both, especially we have a band and it's like, six guys, they take up some
Yeah.
room. You feed them, you do what you can to help them along the way, because that's the only way they're going to make it, man. They're not going to make it on their, the $50 they're going to make that night. That's not going to do, not going to do
Yeah.
anything. And people don't realize that when you're first starting out, you got nothing, and nobody cares
Yes.
except for the kindness that you run across from
And
city to
it definitely makes me more of I don't hate people. I mean, which is contrary to a lot of comedians. They're very anti people, but which is weird because they want them at the audience.
yes,
But I think they're talking about like group think. Whereas far as I love people. I genuinely love people. And especially with how things are and how divisive and stuff like that, I still care about human beings, which,
you
I
know,
don't, it's a hot take these days. It's a hot
it's
take to have hope.
it's funny that you say that, because people will hold me at the risk of sounding boring. I say it over and over and over again, especially when I'm talking to my whole crime world and how everything is awful and it's murders and rapes and kidnappings, blah 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 blah. But I truly do believe, Carmen, okay, and this is coming from a guy, New York City guy, cop and detective in the Bronx.
Mhm.
I do believe that 90% of the world's population are decent people. It's the
Yeah.
10% that fuck it up for everybody else. Now, that
Hmm.
being said, it might not be my kind of person. I might not be your kind of person, but that doesn't mean that we're not good, decent people. And that,
Right.
you know, again, I'm not inviting you over for Thanksgiving. All right.
Right.
We can
Yeah.
certainly get along otherwise,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
I think people, and quite often, like you say, uh, so many comedians are very, very misanthropic. Absolutely. I don't know that, but
Well,
that's
again, that goes
possibly
back
why
to the
they're
mental
comedians.
illness thing.
Yeah.
There's usually 5 categories of mental illness that you have, and I can usually pick them out by the way that they do stand up now. That's how much stand up I've watched. You have the neurodivergence, the ADHD, and the people on the autistic spectrum. You have the regular depressees, the depressed people / anxiety. You have the bipolar people. You have the narcissist, covert and overt narcissists. Those are the people who are doing it for the fame. Those are the people who are just doing it because their parents never gave them any attention, so they had to seek attention from other people. And what am I missing? Anxiety, anything, or maybe I separated it. No, it's ADHD and autism. I mean, I might have put them on the same one, but it's usually one of those categories. If you dig deep enough, either that or their parents had them go to Harvard. You know, the Conans of the world. Their
Yeah.
parents had them go to Harvard, and they're just literary people who do stand up.
Right. Right.
And that's been a criticism of mine with stand up is now there's I don't like how many rich kids are doing it because they're out of touch with people in general.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So
Well, I've seen that quite often too. But you can also get that. I don't know. Should I be trashing people on here? Why not? Who cares? Nobody cares who I am. Well, I'm a nobody anyway, right? But people like everybody's favorite comedian in the comedy world, Amy Schumer, who I've never heard anything good about, and not to beat her up personally, but she is a very unliked person in the world, in the comedy world, I should say, where obviously very, very successful, but she kind of went there with the old silver spoon in her mouth, and
there's a few of them. I would say the exception of that is like a John Mulaney. John Mulaney is definitely a silver spoon kid, but he's real good at it. I mean, I guess I don't know. I think only dudes really hate on Amy Schumer. Yeah, I don't know a lot of women that hate on her. I mean, there's not as many of us. Like, you got to understand, like, stand-up has changed so much from, like, when I was living out of my car. I never performed with other women, ever.
Yeah.
It was always just me and a bunch of dudes, which is the other reason. You got to be tough. I had no other option. That was my environment, And now that there are other women around, I don't have to be as gruff. I don't have to be as standoffish. I don't have to be constantly protecting myself because it's in what's, to me, the reason, I guess, being in Los Angeles a lot of times it's difficult for me is because I'm not competing with you, miss. I'm not competing. I'm competing with me. Stand up to me is golf. There is not there. I am competing with myself. I am trying to be good enough for me, which is an insurmountable feat. And I feel like that's part of where people get fucked up with this stuff is they're constantly comparing themselves to others. And I feel like that's across the board. Anything you're doing when you're just looking on somebody else's paper, you're fucking up on your own test, so to speak.
Yep. I always kind of like to compare the comedian, okay, to the boxer. Like when it comes to sports, I'm not a big sports guy, all right, but I've said this. I think I said this when I had JT Habersat on the show a while back. That the comedian is like a boxer in that a boxer doesn't have a team behind him. He goes into the ring and it's him against another guy. One guy loses, the other guy wins. That's it. The difference with a comedian is it's you on stage and you got to fight a whole audience of people for those laughs. So it is a tough, ballsy thing to get up there, and I give you guys all the credit in the world because it's something that I know I couldn't do. I don't have the balls to get up there and do that. And I'm a pretty ballsy guy, but I can't see me getting up there and. But
it's a different kind of pain, is what it is.
I imagine
to be up there and be like because people ask about bombing and stuff like that. It's you get numb to being, which is also, I guess, I never really thought about it this way myself until right this moment. But you can get numb, especially somebody who bombs a lot, you can get numb to people not liking you. And I think that's why some comedians have kind of gone into this like almost a villain role that they're doing where it's like they'd rather get groans instead of making people laugh, or they'd rather like offend people than make people laugh. And because I'm a purist and I want stand-up to exist in every way that's possible because I like freedom. That was the only reason I got into it. And that's why I stayed. That's why I gave up having healthcare, gave up having a family, gave up all of that. I just love freedom more than anything. So that's what I'm always going for. I never did this for fame. I'm never going to be famous. Know that. I have no desire for it. I have famous friends. I'm friends with millionaires that do stand-up. I am so happy for them. It is not for me. I see it. I see all the other side. I have no interest in it. All I want to do is do stand-up until I'm fucking dead. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I'm looking to do. So come see me in the fucking summer when nobody sees stand-up. I am the middle class, guys. I am low middle class, but I'm trying to stay in the middle somewhere, without dying, impoverished. So, like, I never lost. Some people they're like, oh, that's such a young comedian mentality, or you just go into it for that, but eventually it's for something else. And I know we live in America. I know we live in a capitalistic society. I know I need money to survive, but I truly don't have any interest in having it when it comes to me acquiring it at the detriment of other people. No interest. The whole reason I got into this was to be free, make people feel good. Because I knew. I grew up I had a fuck ton of trauma, people dying, people being pieces of shit to each other. I grew up through all of it and helped people through all of it as much as I possibly could. All I wanted to do was make people feel good, or fucking give you 2 hours where your kids aren't screaming. Give you a couple hours where, like, Jesus Christ. I mean, this, because since you were a detective, I'll bring this story up. One time I was doing a show, and a woman comes up to me after the show and was like, thank you so much for this. And I was like, yeah, you're welcome. It's my job. I hope you had a good time. I was doing my post-show, chatting everybody up. And she goes, no, she's like, I'm a detective, and I had a dead kid in my arms earlier today. And for a couple of hours, I wasn't obsessively thinking about that. I wasn't depressed. I wasn't fucking misanthropic. I wasn't a bummer for a couple of hours. Thank you for being able to make me do that. And a lot of people can't do that. And there's no amount of fucking TikTok videos that are really going to be able to make that happen. It's a live experience, and there's nothing like it. It's unbridled. It's why, in a crumbling empire, I'm still the fucking celloist on this Titanic, trying to make people feel good. And no, it was a pleasure playing for all of you, and I will be playing my symphony of dick jokes till we're all dead. That's my role. It's unfortunate when you find your purpose and you get it, and then you're like, well, you got to use it to make money. And that's like, well, okay, but
Yeah.
but some of that, sometimes it takes away from it, and I've been trying. You saw I've been doing some acting things. I'm trying to do other shit, but it's just because not enough people leave their house, like, especially over the last, since COVID, a lot of people don't want to leave their house anymore. They'd rather stay cozied up in a hole and stare at their phone, which is also fine. I also think that's fine as a distraction tactic, but I would also still like to exist.
COVID gave us such a terrible beating, but even more so, and I'll ask you what you think, but even more so are, these stupid phones that we all walk around with. There was a time, I know, I used to own bars and pubs, and we used to do music. We did live music in there. We had a little punk rock dive, and we would do shows when things were great. We do like 4 shows a month. It was hopping, man. And at the end of the night, I mean, we would have bands play until 4:00 in the morning. We'd have to force people to leave. If you do a show now, all right?
Oh, you got to be done by 9:30.
Well,
The show would have to be at 5 p.m.
Nobody
to get anybody to go there.
Nobody cares. They're all out there with their little camera that they hold over their head, take a picture, say, look what I did today, and they're done at midnight. We used to not even start shows until midnight, and now it's just over. That the younger people, and granted, I know I'm an old man now, but the younger people, everybody that's below 40, just doesn't party the way they used to. They just don't, and it's sad,
There's a couple things. I will defend young people on a couple things. One, we found out how bad alcohol really is for us.
Yes.
So there's that. And then 2, they're being bombarded with information, which is mentally exhausting.
Yes.
You had the opportunity to go through your day without knowing anything that was happening in China, without knowing anything that was happening 2 boroughs over. You had the luxury of being able to be present, exist right here without being
Absolutely, I
bombarded
agree.
with
That's
mostly
exactly what I'm
negative
saying.
information. So I also get it, because I mean, I've made this joke a couple times on stage where I'm like, I don't know why young people don't want to come out to stand up. I was like, what do I got to do? Start doing brunch shows? And the amount of applause that people give me when they're like, yes, do a fucking brunch show. I'm like, so you could be in bed by 8 p.m.? I go, that's part of the reason why these boomers hate on the young people, is because they're stealing all their shit. They're stealing all their thrifting. They're going to garage sales and shit. They're going to bed by 7 p.m. That's all old people shit. They're crocheting. You know what I'm saying? They're taking all the old people's shit.
Well, we used to say, used to say just a couple of years ago when I was still doing the bar thing, we used to
Mm-hmm.
call all the millennials young fogies. Instead
Mm-hmm.
of old fogies, they were young fogies, because it was like you were in the bar world, you were talking to, old men, old women. But
Yeah.
all the old bar people wanted to party. They
Yes.
would go on, they would be out until 3 o'clock in the morning. The people who were now 60 years old were partying until the end, but the young ones were all done by midnight, and, we're definitely agreeing with each other here. It
Mm-hmm.
is these phones, the amount of information, the amount of entertainment that they do. They have to get home for Netflix at a certain time because whatever Game of Thrones is
Mm-hmm.
coming on or whatever the new thing is, and somehow it stole a lot of the lust for life, which is unfortunate for you because in what you're doing, literally had you started 15 or 20 years, obviously you're not that old, but had you started younger, you would have had so much more, I
And I
think.
started when I was 22. So if I would have started, like, I didn't have that. It's the same kind of like, for me, why I'm not more, I am in that vein. It's the same thing. Like, why didn't you buy a house when it was cheaper? It was like, because I was 8. I couldn't.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I couldn't buy a house when it was so affordable to buy one and make all his money. It's the same thing, because I'm an older, I'm a millennial as well, but older. It's the same reason why my entire generation grasps on to nostalgia so much, is because that was the time in our life where we were able to think freely and have the enough silence and quiet, and I mean mental quiet, where you could have creative thoughts and stuff like that. Like, it's we're bombarded constantly, and it's to keep people from being creative, because when you're creative, a lot of times you're rebelling against the status quo. You're not doing things the way, I mean, think
Yes.
if you think about, my entire generation has been passive aggressively rebellious against the system that we came up in. That's why they're not having kids, because we were told coming up from our Gen X big sisters and cousins and everything, that the best way, if you care about climate change, the best way to give a fuck about it was to not have kids. Don't
Yeah.
have kids. Plus, they all had kids and were fucking bitching about it. Don't have any fucking kids. Jesus Christ. I can't even have a thought to myself. That does not sound desirable at all.
Yeah.
And the generation before that wasn't allowed to speak that freely about it. You know?
I say that all the time, Carmen, when people are getting on the let's beat up on the millennial train. It was
Mm-hmm.
our generation that created the millennials, And when
Yeah,
I say that,
I was raised, my socially conscious brain was raised by my punk aunt, my
yeah,
Gen Xer punk aunt. She was the most. Every time I think about where does this come from? Where does this passion about this issue come from? It comes from my fucking Tia, dude. Because she was out there protesting, she was out there skateboarding, she was out there welding, even though they were like, "You're a girl, you can't do this." She was like, "Fuck you, I'll do whatever I want." She was a punk bitch, dude.
yeah.
And so, like, that is where I got it from, you know? So it's there is a there's a disrespect that comes with our generation, that it's at the same time I'm like, dude, fuck off. We're doing the best we can. Truly, we're doing the best we can by not, like, you don't think, listen, there's some millennials that should have had kids, because they're putting way too much pressure on their fucking pets. Why do you think so many of their pets got their tongue sticking out of their face? Is because they got so much, they have a baby and an adult, like, human child amount of pressure on them to be all of the thing. You can't. Toddlers in Tierra, your Chihuahua.
How could I repeat that just because that hit me pretty funny? They put too much pressure on their pets. I never heard that before, and I agree with you 100%. Because I see some of these characters walking around the city with their poor little
With their, and their,
dog.
their dogs shake like they went through a war. The dogs got PTSD just because they're like, I'm sorry, I can't be everything you want me to be. I'm fucking dog.
Oh, yep.
So, anyways,
I
go
see
see
it.
a stand-up comedy show in the summer. I said all that to say. Sorry, you got me
Oh,
rolling.
oh
Ugh.
man. Let me take a breath for a second. And you know what? While I take that breath, when I take that breath, we're going to take a little break right now, and then we're going to come right back because, as much as you are a working class journeyman of a comedian, you have had some successes that I want to hear about. All right.
All right. Let's do
So,
it.
so let's take a break just for a second. Hey, how you doing? Another nobody here, Travis Myers. This one's going out in particular to all my drinking friends out there, because I got a new favorite thing, and it's called Shanky's Whip, and it is magical. It's Irish whiskey mixed with a little caramel, a little cream, a little vanilla, and it's heavenly. What more can I say? I suggest you pick up a bottle. You can have it as a shot with a cold beer, like I like. On the rocks, it's great. Mix it with a little cola. I promise you, you're going to love this stuff. Next time you raise a glass, think of me, another nobody, Travis Myers. Hey, do the right thing. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any more of my nonsense. All the best, my friends.
Buy our books!
All right, welcome back, everybody. We are here with my friend Carmen Morales, who is a very, very funny young lady. And we just finished up ranting about, what was it you just said? People don't know what they do to their pets, which I think is absolutely
Well,
hilarious.
yeah. I think some young people should have had kids just because of how much pressure they put on their pets.
Yes, that's absolutely hilarious. And now, back again. So we talked a little bit about how murderously tough it is to be a comedian, which it is, and I agree. And people should know it's a really, really tough road to take, but you took it. And you are, although very much a working class journeyman type comedian, right? You have had some pretty interesting successes. Now, back in, what was it, 2022? Is that when your HBO special hit?
Oh yeah, I did a little special on HBO. It's a show that was produced for like to elevate Latin comedians. There was like 1 year where they really like Latin people, and that was the year. You know how they go in vogue with like right
Yes,
now it's very Asian forward out
yes.
here. They're always pushing for something. So there was like a year where they love Latin people, and that was the year. I did a fun a little special on HBO Max. It's still there. It's called Entre Nos. It's me and a buddy of mine, Alfred Robles, who's an incredible comedian who goes around the country doing now he does like crowd work for the most part, get people to make out on stage and stuff. But we did this special together, and it was so fun. And it filmed in New York, and it was we did it at the Chelsea Music Hall in the basement. And man, it's so electric. It was so fun. It was so rad. But that's my favorite thing I've ever done. So if you wanted to get a good idea, that's a good place to start.
Well, that's something too, back to what we were just talking about, with, I don't want to say the death of, because it sounds so negative, but the whole change in generations and the poison that these phones have become is the live stand-up show. Just like going to a small club and seeing a live band, it is electric. It is magic. It can be life-changing at that moment.
Yeah.
Granted, it might only be, 10, 20, 30 minutes on stage, but when it rocks, it fucking rocks,
When it
And
resonates with you in a way that's just like you feel it's a perfect place for you to laugh, feel seen, understood, or watch absurdity. Like that's the other thing too, is it's just a hilarious, there's an energy. There's no way to describe it without me getting all weird and woo woo about it, but there's an energy exchange that happens,
yes,
and being in a room of everybody else having the same emotional response. There's something about that is you can't fill. that's why it's hard for me to watch stand-up specials. It's hard for me to watch stand-up just because I know what it like. I'm like, nah, this is a bad representation. I've seen good comedians be poorly represented on film.
Absolutely.
And I had their stand, like, I was like, this guy, or this woman is incredible. Why is this?
No,
Why? This is
absolutely.
a bad representation of this. And it's because that there's that transition. And I do think, and it's because the producer is a stand-up fan. So he did capture it as best as he possibly could. So I will say that I did think he did a good job, and it was because he kept us involved. It wasn't like they just film us and then you don't get to see how it is until it shows up at the end, which is how a lot of it is, but takes feedback and cares about what the comedians think, And again, we're insane people. Don't take everything into consideration that we say, but some of it, some of it.
Yes. Well, no, and again, back to the same thing. You can't watch taped live music on
Oh,
television. Is
live music gets me high too. Like before I did
It's got to
stand up,
be
I
live.
used to go to karaoke. I used to go to like 10 concerts a year. Anytime I had if I had a good merch weekend or I sold a bunch of merch or something, that money was going for a ticket to see something or someone.
Yep, yep.
It was an exchange because for me, it was also like, I love performing arts. So whatever I'm making money, I'm putting that back out into the things I want to keep existing.
Yep. But
And that's the
again,
thing I think people don't realize what they're doing with their money. Whatever you spend your money on is what you say you want to exist or you want like in this kind of society, that's the power you have is with your money. What you do with
it
it.
is
Hmm.
supporting what you like, absolutely.
Yeah.
And like we were again just saying, the live music and the live comedy and well, anything that's live is so much richer of an experience than
Hmm.
watching it on television. It is. But unfortunately, people again are hooked on their phones or whatever. Now, did the HBO special, to jump ahead a little bit, was that? Do you think that helped, or maybe you could tell the story if there is a story? Because you also now have been in 2 feature films, correct? Is there
I
more?
have.
Is there more than that, or is it 2?
No, those are the two major things. Now I haven't been in more feature films. I've been in
Right.
I've been on TV a couple times outside of that, but those were the things in the acting realm
Right.
the biggest things in the acting realm I've ever done.
And one was the romantic comedy. What was it? Noche Buena.
Noche Buena, it's a story that's like if you don't know, in a lot of Latin culture, and specifically this film, it's Puerto Rican culture, the night before Christmas is our Christmas, so to
Yeah.
speak. So for instance, I'm Cuban. Us too, Noche Buena was always the night before Christmas. Christmas Eve was our big night. So we
Yeah.
would roast a whole pig. We would
That's
have
the same at
everybody
my
get
house.
together.
Yeah. My
We'd
house,
have a
Christmas Eve has always been the big one, and
mhm.
Christmas Day we lick our wounds from the night before.
Well, see, for me, it was different because I had Christmas Eve for the Latin side of my family and then Christmas Day for the Italian side of my family. So
Okay. All right.
it was 2 days of nothing but eating, is what it was. So we had a full pig Christmas Eve, and then I had a brujol and all the pasta and the lasagna and chicken parm that day, the 7 fishes, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it was a big deal. So like I had a friend of mine that I actually ironically I did theater with in high school. He was making a movie and he was just like, "Oh, I saw this character in here and it immediately reminded me of you. Would you be willing to do would you be willing to audition for it?" And I was like, "Sure, absolutely." And I did, and I was just familiar with not only the culture but this event and being a best friend to someone, and like so it was. I had plenty to pull from to enrich this character. But it's a romantic comedy Christmas movie. But what's great is it really does transcend culture because it really is about family dynamics. It's about friendship. It's like the things you do for your friends. Like there's a moment in the film where ugh, I have to be a distraction and to do some unnecessary shots I didn't want. Like there's plenty of stuff that you got to do. You just helping your friend out,
Yeah. Yes.
and so that was super fun. And then the other film that I did was called Andy Somebody, and I liked doing that one as well because it was definitely out of my wheelhouse, and um
Well, that's also a comedy, but it's kind of like an action crime comedy, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And what was cool about it is the role that I ended up getting was written for a dude and was written for I think they wanted like a dude from Pakistan. It was is the how they wanted this
Hmm.
character to be played by. And I went in to audition for a completely different role. And but one of the dudes that was one of the writers on the had seen me do stand up. So he was
Hmm.
familiar with me. So he was like, "Would you be willing to read this other part?" And I was like, "Sure." And so I read that part, and then I found out later on, once we were on set, he was like, in 2 days of auditioning, nobody read the script the way we wrote it comedically except you. You were the only one who knew what we were doing. And I was like, it was just the funniest way I could have said the thing at the time.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting a role for something that I wasn't even trying to get because of my comedic chops,
Right.
because it was an action, it was a more of an actiony movie, but they did want it to be have a lot of funny elements to it. So that was super cool too. And it's at the end of the day, I'm getting paid to play pretend. It seems very silly, but I know a lot of people take pretend very seriously, and I'm not trying to besmirch all of the acting methods that
No, I
people
know.
take
Yeah.
into it, and I feed into it as well. There is something to be said about doing a good job with that and being able to access. But again, as a comedian, I'm already very well versed in accessing my past pain and all that. That's where this lunacy comes from. So I'm acutely aware. So I think in that regard, it gives comedians a little bit of a leg up in the acting space.
Now, let me ask you, I know your love is being on stage in front of people. I noticed
Yes.
we've talked about it. That's the
Hmm.
whole thing. You want that because you're kind of like you're a junkie for the laugh. You want that, and I
Yeah.
get that.
But not so much so I would sacrifice my integrity. That's
Well,
the only difference.
I get that. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But
Because
my
if
question
you
is,
like the laughs too much, if you chase the laughs too much, you end up being a hack. So
yeah,
I talk to comedians about this. This might be too heady, but I talk to comedians about this. Where what is the goal for you personally when you're on stage? And for me, again, being a chick with ADHD, Latin, white passing, like all of this stuff that I have, having PCOS, so like being hormonally neutral, being closer to a they them chemically than I was fucking wanted to be, but it happened. All of that stuff is I'm constantly just trying to be understood. So that's what I'm trying to do on stage through laughter. Some people are trying to change minds, some people are trying to, get people to see their point of view. Some people are trying to, there's a lot of different motivations. But for me, I'm just trying to be understood and explain to you why I see things the way that I see so that's it. So through laughter, I'm just trying to be understood.
where I wanted to go with that though, my question is,
Mm.
so I know how much you love the stand up. Do
Mhm.
you see though a new door opening with the acting? Is this something that you also like and that you want to
I did
pursue?
like it.
Yeah.
I did like it. And at the end of the day, if I'm asking the childhood me, all I've ever really wanted to do is be a cartoon character.
Yeah.
And so stand up is the closest stand up is the closest thing I could think of
Yeah.
that's based in reality where I could be. Like voice acting, I voiced a few cartoons and stuff like that, and that stuff is like those are dream come trues in the sense when I was a little kid. What do you want to do? You're like, I want to be in Doug or I want to
Yeah.
be in Ren and Stimpy. So
It's funny. I got a little story for you, a very
okay.
short one. But talking about the cartoon character and how you'd like to be one.
Hmm.
My lovely bride, Christine, and me have been together for 35 years now. Can you believe that? 35 years we've been together.
That's nice.
We not fell in love, but she knew I was the guy for her, and I knew she was the girl for me because she was a waitress in a diner,
Hmm.
and they had Bugs Bunny playing on the television, and we turned out we were both the biggest Bugs Bunny fans, and
Same.
that's what hooked us because Bugs Bunny has always been my hero, and when as a rough and tumble guy, you
Hmm.
know who do you look up to? Who's my tough guy has always been Bugs Bunny because he beats him with his brain.
Yeah,
He beats him
same.
with his
He
cleverness.
yeah,
And
and he was also charming enough
oh
where
yeah,
you would overlook his bad behavior.
absolutely, absolutely. It was, Bugs Bunny was both of our heroes, and that's what made it click for me and her.
Mhm.
So
I still watch old Merry Melody episodes with my boyfriend. We watch because he's also a Looney Tunes kid. So like
yeah,
we both
well, we love
like
that.
those were the ones I used to watch. Those it's the same thing. It was like two stand-up comedy specials and Looney Tunes because those were the ones that were on the most because they were free then. Because you got to think about these are like episodes from the 50s and 60s that are being played in the 80s. So it was cheap. It was cheap programming for television.
Mhm.
So I just used to watch those over and over and over. And I had the Merry Melodies VHS tapes and I just used to watch them over and over and over and over again. And I didn't understand any of the political references that were happening in them at all because, again, child. But
Yes.
I just loved how smart he was. And I loved how he was also a little trickster and a prankster. And I was a little bit mischievous as a little bit. I was mischievous as well as a kid. So it all resonated with me.
Yeah, well, he was again the perfect hero to me, and I always what was the one line he said? If you want to chastise me, try psychology.
Yeah.
He was just such a funny character. I love Bugs Bunny. So, but so again, your home, your life is stand up, and the movies are kind of a side thing for you.
Mhm. I mean, I still don't get me wrong. It's not like I'll do it if I feel like. I mean, I'll be had if and whenever they have me. It is work that I do currently actively try to get. But yeah, what fuels me creatively and dopamine wise and all of that is stand up, and it always will
Yeah.
be.
So, well, as far as your characters in the film, I know I mentioned this to you before, but I want to bring it up. I am madly in love, and I am going to ask for the good of the world, okay, and the good of YouTube, if we could please get a little bit more Carmencita up on YouTube, all right?
Okay.
And I won't bother to describe Carmencita. I'm madly in love with her, all right, because she reminds me of so many abuelas that I grew up with in my neighborhood. But if you could
Mhm.
describe Carmencita, and hopefully we'll get you a few more views on the YouTube there, because I want to see more of her. I want to.
She
She should have
she's
her own
great.
show.
She's great. She came off just kind of as a bit. I was like a friend of mine was doing a Christmas show over COVID and he was doing like a live show and I was in Florida at the time so I couldn't be part of it. He was like, "Well, will you submit like a sketch or something we could play for the
Yeah,
audience there to contribute to it?" And I was like, "Sure." And I couldn't think of I was like trying to come up with something and I was like, "Well, I've been doing this I've been doing Carmen Cita for a long time. She's been since high school. She's been a character of mine that I've been doing. And for those of you who haven't listened to it, it's just a little old Spanish lady that's a little bit judgy, but in the sweetest way possible.
yes.
She's like sweetly petty, not petty, but sweetly judgy.
Oh,
Oh,
but I
mira,
know
that's
her.
nice, pero mira, you don't look nice in that dress.
That's what
You
I
so
love
pretty,
about
pero
her.
I don't like the way it shaped your face. Like she's just one of those characters, and she's delightful and I had no idea how well it was going to be received. So I just threw it up on you. It was like I had a bunch of people follow me from it and it was like 2 minute video.
Yeah,
And then and I did another one for Halloween again and it's just very very silly. I play video games and I stream on Twitch and a lot of times that's one of the things that the viewers can achieve is they can do the Carmencita interruption. We'll all have to play video games as
right.
Carmencita. So, I'm playing Call of Duty and then I'm I'm screaming as this little old Latin lady. And so I definitely had no idea how well received she was going to be. But it does make me happy. And yes, to heed yours and many other people's requests, there will be more Carmencita
I
content
love her.
coming.
I love her. Like I say, I know her. I know so many
Hmm.
Carmencitas, and
But she's based off a real person, so that's why
that
is
that that one. I mean, there were so many just little things that I like. But when she's in the Christmas one, when she's driving by, you know, I'm not even able to say it. All the decorations are low.
hmm
It's just
hmm
they don't have a ladder. That's just it's so stupid, but it's brilliant at the same time because I know the woman that would say that, and it kills me. It absolutely kills me.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you liked her. She's great.
Yeah, yeah. So now you say that she's a real character, and I know a lot of your characters you pull, a lot of your bits you do about, your family. Um,
Hmm
your mom and dad, and possibly your grandmother, your aunts, the one you just described. Do you
hmm
have any stories, funny stories, or not so funny stories you want to share with us there?
Sure. I mean, which one? I mean, the thing is like, the, that's how you get the way. I mean, to talk about how okay, as much as I make fun of acting, how much I respect it is there's a difference between characters and caricatures. And
Yes.
caricatures, that's usually where you get somebody that's just doing a generic Latin voice or a generic like they're
Well,
just large like broad
let me
strokes
let,
of
let me
people.
interrupt you there for a second
Sure, sure,
because
sure.
I'm going to agree with you
Hmm.
wholeheartedly because as a New York City guy, okay,
Hmm.
I have watched so many god awful movies about New York because they have actors who I might like as actors, but they're from California pretending to be New Yorkers and they lack the
Having and it doesn't feel like they ever went
no,
there. It doesn't feel
no.
like they have any idea.
And
They're
then
acting really weird.
you get these films like I don't know, 29th Street or Bronx Tale, a lot of the Scorsese, De Niro type things where they get guys right off the street to do it, and those films are magical, and they're magical because they're real, you know?
Yeah, there's somebody portraying an authenticity. So for
Exactly.
me,
Exa-
anytime I'm even if I'm doing something silly that is comic based, there is I like authentic. I like most of the things I own are not mass produced. I'm one of
Mhm.
those people. I too go to antique shops and buy old shit because I think the way that it was designed was cooler than the way it would be now, even though it probably wouldn't last as long. It doesn't matter. But I bring that mentality to this as well. So Carmencita, as silly as those videos are, is based off of my ex's grandmother. I had a Puerto Rican ex, and his grandmother was the most charming, passive aggressive woman I have
Yeah.
ever met. She
Yeah.
would, I'm pretty sure one time she called me a whore and I said thank you because I thought it was a compliment. It was just like one of the, like the way she would psychologically manipulate was just incredible and so subtle about it,
Yes.
so sweet, very proper. And you had no idea. This woman is eviscerating you. And you would have no idea until later on when you're like, I think that bitch was being to me. And and it was just so funny to me and I loved that and that's like what that is kind of that's where the character came birth is when I was dating this guy I went to we did a like a showcase it was like a Halloween showcase so I went as Carmen Sita as a fair so I did a double costume I went as a character dressed up for Halloween as something else
Yes.
and because I have to make it hard right I have to make it difficult and so it started there and then she just kind of has always been reoccurring throughout my life wherever it would come up she would save my day she would save the day for me and that's kind of what happened in this one particular instance for this because it was my friend Ron Funches he did like and I think that's on IMDb too but I think it was part of that as well where he did like a COVID special we're going to entertain you while you're all stuck inside type of thing and I'm so grateful that I got to be a part of it because now so many people like a lady that has a weird small part in my brain
Mhm.
permanently.
Yeah. Yeah. No, well, I love her. I love her. Uh, another thing I actually I'll bring up. I don't know if you want me to bring it up or not, but I
Mhm.
think it's something that is really great that you've done on a non-professional comedic type level. You know,
Mhm.
we just went through all these. Well, you went through it. I had nothing to do with it. These terrible, terrible fires out there in
Mhm.
Los Angeles, which and I'm not going to get political and crazy. I'm not looking for that kind of thing. But what I
Mhm.
really want everybody to know, okay, is how you did go out and volunteer and help yourself, you know? And you were helping get supplies, you were bringing stuff to first responders, you were helping out in a big, big way. And as a fellow, for real and for true first responder, one, I know how much it takes to stick your neck out like that. And I want to say thank you for that. And if you want to tell our audience, if you want to talk about it, please tell our audience a little bit about that.
Um, sure. I will say this. You weren't prompted to bring this up. This is the thing
Yes.
about helping. That I especially, and it's probably because I live in Los Angeles, and it's a very uh look at me. It has an
Yes.
air of very look at me type of that I definitely was doing it before I ever let anybody know about it.
Mhm.
From the jump because I didn't want it to be. I mean, I'd seen it so many times when during like the George Floyd protests, people were just showing up to take a picture with a bunch of people protesting behind them, shit like that. And that is disgusting to me, and to a level that it makes me enraged. And so anytime I do anything, I really don't like to. I mean, whenever I give money, donate, any of that shit, anytime I'm trying to help, I don't want anybody to know about it,
Yes.
because for me, that was the way
Well,
that
honey,
I knew
uh,
unemphatically, like the look at me part is the stand up, not this, not the look at what a good person I am. All that shit just gives me the ick. I can't stand it. So, um,
well, that's why I'm bringing it up, and you didn't bring it up, okay? Because I want people to know that underneath this glorious show business persona that we see, okay,
mhm.
that there is, a heart and a soul, and the same thing. I can relate exactly what you're saying. Like, that who was that idiot that was out there, Meghan Markle, trying to get her picture taken.
Mm.
Making her trying to be more famous than she already is, which is only making her more infamous because nobody likes this chick. But regardless, like myself, I was a 9/11 guy. People always just thank you for your service for the military. Thank you for this
Mhm.
from the police department. Really, we don't want that. We want to help people. We want to get bad guys. We want things to be nice. We don't need the praise or care for the praise. And sometimes there is like, I never wear the memorabilia. I don't like that. All the
Mhm.
cop stuff or the fireman stuff or the 9/11 stuff or whatever.
I've noticed that more
But
people who never were involved are the ones who seem to wear it the most. That's the
absolutely,
observation I've made.
you are 100% right, young lady. But what I did want to do is for our listeners who are, quite often crime fans and uh, big fans of first responders and people that do help, is what you did was really nice. And if you want to tell us about it a little bit, because you were there on the front lines of this
Mhm.
fire, and not to get your picture taken, you were there for a couple of weeks, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and I still go now. I usually go like once a week because it's like they're being exhausted. Like they don't have the ways to maintain. They don't have the staff to maintain it every single day.
Yes.
Um, but yes, from the jump, because there was two huge fires, and I, because I've lived here long enough, knew all of the attention and all of the Red Cross funding and all of that, all the FEMA, all of that shit was going to go to the rich people in the Palisades.
Always does.
And I used to live in Altadena, which is where the Eaton fire happened. I used to live there for like I think 2 or 3 years. I lived there and I loved it. It was the only place I ever wanted to buy a house. I mean, granted, it was way too expensive. We're talking about California prices, but it was adorable. And it not only that, but it was also um it was a mecca for black people to come up. Like, I don't know how else to say it more, but it was a great place for Latin and black people to like genuinely thrive. And I didn't see that a lot outside of like in Atlanta or something like that. I hadn't seen that in California. So it was, to me, it also mattered a lot to me. So when the fires happened and stuff like that, they were calling for people to volunteer, and I did. And then they were using like there was like a day labor network. So these
Mhm.
day laborers would come, and instead of like going and looking for a job, they would come and they were helping like clean up the debris and all this toxic waste and stuff. So I would go out with them and make sure they would put on a mask. You don't need fucking lung cancer in 3 years because you're being helpful. But, help them, maybe bring them water. And the thing with first responders is oftentimes they don't want a lot of the shit people are donating. You know what they want? They want fucking Zins. They want fucking nicotine to help keep them awake during all the 12-hour shifts that they're doing and stuff. So it's also listening to what people need and like trying to gather that. And there was a lot of people donating clothes. Like they were just treating this like it was goodwill, and donating dirty shit. Like these people don't have homes. How are they going to wash these clothes?
Yeah.
So I was just trying to trying to be helpful in the sense of like putting out what is actually needed versus what you might think is needed. Or, if you're just giving something to make you feel good, like you did help, at least give the right thing and not create more of a fucking cock block for us to be able to get people the help that they need, because now you're getting in the way, and that is not helping, and you shouldn't feel good about that. So I just wanted to fucking help, and also be honest with people about like give directly to people who are in need. Don't give to organizations, because I don't know if you've ever been to a casino. The house always takes a vig. So if
That's
you
right.
want to give the money directly, here's a list of people who are displaced by it. Here's a list of people who,
That's right.
who don't have homes. And it's organized by how much of their GoFundMe has been reached. So you can give to people who haven't been given shit.
Yep.
We have the ability to do that now. So I wanted it just be like streamlined. I'm very pro mutual aid. I'm pro all of that shit because again, this is America. This is a capitalistic society. Everybody wants to get their little piece of the pie. So the best way to get as much pie as you possibly can is to give to people directly. So that was it. And I didn't want to fucking just talk about it because, again, that's what people were doing. There was plenty of that happening. There was plenty of people talking to people online about things that they could do while not helping. I wanted to just fucking help. You know, I just wanted to help. I love the place. It's gone. My favorite coffee shop in this entire fucking country was burnt to the ground.
Yep.
I mean, this was like, because when I was talking about like moving around everywhere, when I lived in Altadena, it was the first time I was a regular at a place.
Yeah.
You know this, you have bars.
Mhm.
There's something about a place that's not your home where you feel comfortable at. There is something, especially to a fucking nomad like me who moves around the country constantly. There's something that mattered so much to me. I would come to this diner. He would bring me a carafe of iced tea because I was going to sit there, diddle in my notebook, and then order the same fucking thing I always get. And they would know. And they would be happy to fucking see me. Plus, I tip that, I'm a good person. But they also knew. You know what I'm saying? You got to grease everybody. There is something good that comes out of Goodfellas. I will say that. It's not the ending, but it is the scene where we are introduced to Robert De Niro. Where he comes in and he works that room and everybody knows that guy and he's slipping 20s to everybody's. That's how you should be. That's the type of man about town you should be.
Yep.
That guy. Don't watch the rest of the film. It gets very bad. But that one scene, I have modeled so much of my life around, is to be that guy. That guy. Be a delight to be around. Throw money around when you fucking have it. Because guess what? What happens when you don't? They're like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And that's happened to me. And even though I'm riddled with guilt by it, because I always want to I want to contribute. I want to put it. But nah. So you get it back. It's the same thing.
No, but you did good. You did good. You took part. You stuck your neck out, and I'm gonna reverse that thing. Like I say, I always hate it when people do the thanks for your service thing. Thanks for being there. But thanks for being there, Carmen. All right? You did it. You did it. And we appreciate that. And especially, being what we call a civilian, because you did. When cops and firemen and EMTs and we all do this stuff, we do it because it's part of our job and it's the right thing to do. And we volunteer for this crazy, stupid nonsense. Mm-hmm. But if imagine now if, 20%, not 100%, 20% of the adults in that community, in that area, in the surrounding areas, went and gave 2 days. They sacrificed 2 days to do the right thing. Bang. Think the world would be so much better.
Well, not only that, I think it's also the way you give. Like, I mean, at the same time, I think, Jamie Lee Curtis gave $1 million to the Red Cross. If you know anything about the Red Cross, maybe 10% of that we'll see because of all of their quote unquote administrative costs. I mean, there's plenty of corrupt nonprofits, people doing harmful things in saying good. So it was just like, I was like, I know emphatically that what I am doing is actually helping.
Yes.
And I didn't want to have to guess. I didn't want to have to like research every organization. So I was like, I'll just give however much I have to these people. We did a comedy show where we raised like $7,000 and stuff. And we dispersed that. I'm doing a benefit show where we're raising money for 23 different teachers, the specific teachers that were in the Eden fam. And, I have a buddy of mine that did a show and he raised like $15,000. Like, so we're it's just that, but it's going directly to where it needs to. It's not going through a corporate filter, so to speak. Exactly. So that was the whole thing. It was like, this was directly affecting me. It was like, we were next to be evacuated where I live. We were next. So had they not gotten it contained, we would have been the ones seeking help. So it was also like, all right, well, I didn't get evacuated. I didn't lose my home. I did. So then I know how scary it is especially because it got so goddamn close to me. I'm going to go try to help everybody. And listen, there's so many people in that line. they don't want to admit that they're there. They don't want people to know that they're there. It's embarrassing. It's like
Of course.
there's all this feeling of like, they don't want to give their name. Like they just like, I don't want to ask for too much. It's like, you lost everything. Babe, tell me what you need. You can have it all.
Unfortunately, I can't remember the guy's name now. Very, very successful comedian. And of course, now that I want to say it, I can't think of him. I know you're not going to know who he is. But I was just listening to him the other day on something, and he's been on somebody's couch for the last, whatever it is, month and a half. Because his house, I don't believe his
Chris
house.
Garcia is another person who's that's his story
But he's
as
not,
well. I'm certain it's other comedians.
Not
but,
allowed back in the neighborhood. I don't even think he lost his house, but he's not allowed back in the neighborhood. So he's been, doing the couch surfing thing for the last 6 or 8 weeks because he's got nowhere to go. It's just crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. But before we get to go into something, I got a question for you, but I think you answered it already in our conversation. But are we gonna hear your podcast again? Because that was a pretty good podcast when you interviewed all the other comedians. I enjoyed that, and it was one of the things when I first got turned on to you. Our mutual friend JT said, you got to check her out on her podcast. And man, you got so much personality. I'd love to see that back also.
Well, it is back. I'm so glad that you brought that up because it is back. I just got a studio. Yeah, I just got a little studio space. I'm talking about like right at this moment. There's no way you would have listened to it. It's just I just got it's just now being re-released. I'm on 2 podcasts, by the way. There's mine, which is the one he's referring to. It's called
that's the one that I know. I listened to that one a bunch, and what I like is, it's comedian after comedian, and sometimes the stories are very similar, but you always have so many laughs on there, and it is, it's a great listen because I'm laughing.
Yeah.
How can you be pissed off when you're laughing?
Yeah. Well, that's the whole the premise. It's called No Sir, I Don't Like It. It's very homage back to Ren and Stimpy, but it's I just have comedians, and now I'm opening it up to like musicians and artists and all this. So they're like a bunch of other creatives where so we can branch out, so we get different stories, and so I do want to. It's just talking about things that you don't like with people that you absolutely adore. That's what it is. Like, let's hate on some shit with people we love, and it's all pet peeves, things you don't like, and it's so funny to me. It is so funny to watch someone get so passionate about ketchup, and be brand specific. Like, if you eat Hunts, I think you're a piece of shit. Or raisins, I hope you die in a fiery. And it's like, people that get so passionate about such silly things. I love that. That's so fun to me. It's such a safe way to get all of that rage out without being harmful to anyone, Yeah. And it's also funny to me, the juxtaposition. It's just like a short lady yelling at a tall dude. That's just an emphatic, always will be funny.
Yes.
And then the other podcast I have, it's with me and 2 other comedians. It's called Gravy Baby. And they are both in the Southeast. One of them is in Georgia and the other one is in Tennessee. And that's way more socio-political. That's way more, if you're into that sort of thing, we call it, it's positive toxicity. There's toxic positivity, yes. People who are, be positive no matter what, while their fucking eyes are breaking out red. This is the opposite. These are toxic people, the 3 of us trying to be positive. So if that's something that's up your alley, it's also very silly.
I don't know that one, but I will absolutely check it out because I love the other one. Your podcast I love. I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I got both of those. If you wanted to listen to me rant even more, if any of this resonated with you, 1, go see a comedy show over the summer, and 2, listen to my podcast. Or if you like video games, follow me on Twitch at the Funny Carmen on all the things.
Twitch. Are you familiar? We have a band of ours does a Twitch thing every week.
Oh,
the
nice.
Fantastic Plastics. You know that name?
Ooh, I don't, but that sounds awesome. It's a band?
Yeah, it's a band, the Fantastic Plastics, and they're on Twitch, I want to say weekly. And in fact, I'm setting up a show with them. They're going to be coming on as guests, I don't know, in weeks from now. But they're fun. Very fun, kooky. They're a kooky band. So.
Oh, I love it already. Oh, they're so fun, and they
screen?
wear wigs. Yeah, I looked it up.
Cool,
I'm
cool.
on board. Yeah, this is right up my alley.
Well, Carmen, let me tell you something. I am so happy you came to sit with me today. I hope
you.
all my listeners and fans love you as much as I do because you're an absolute doll. And
No, thank you very
I
much.
I hope you come back again sometime. And
Absolutely.
please, you got all my information. Let us know when you're in the neighborhood so I can come and visit you. Okay?
Okay, that sounds great.
Please.
And you let me know when you're on the West Coast for sure.
Absolutely. I will. I will.
Mhm.
All right. Until next time, my love. It's so nice meeting you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. CarmenMorales.com for all of your Carmen Morales needs. And follow me on the assorted social media at The Funny Carmen. Carmen.
Please do, everybody. She's a great girl.
Thank you.
Hey, what did I tell you? Fun girl, right? I really, really like Carmen. I enjoyed having her on, and I hope she comes back again in the future. Do what she said. Do the right thing. Go see some comedians this summer, all right? Help support the scene. It's a really, really tough life. Until next time, my friends, do the right thing. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we will see you next week. All the best. Listen up. This one's important. I'd like to try to encourage you, please, to give to the Stephen Siller Foundation, Tunnel to Towers, at T2T.org. That's letter T, number 2, letter T.org. Do good for those who've done good for you.